man claims he can control a swarm of deadly bees. Now, he'll try to prove it by baiting himself with 60,000 stinging insects. A two-headed calf. Six-legged cows. Meet the warm-hearted farmer caring for these unusual animals. What makes these little girls such good swimming students? The fact that they're being chased by a hungry crocodile. Plus, the fashion show where half the models don't wear a single stitch. And can this human pretzel really squeeze through his tennis racket? Unbelievable? Believe it on Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Welcome to Ripley's, where something unbelievable awaits around every corner. Do you hear that? The familiar buzzing sound? It's not the fluorescent lights in here. It's a frenzied swarm of bees. About 1,000 of them, whose sole purpose is servicing the queen. And there's a man who has learned the secret to controlling these unpredictable stinging insects. And what he is about to do with about 60,000 of them will earn him the title of King Bee, or the Bee Man.
Researcher Norman Gary has an unbelievable relationship with bees. So unbelievable, in fact, he's about to cluster 60,000 of them on his body and cram another 50 inside his mouth.
During my 50-year career with bees, I've been stung maybe 75,000 times at least.
So how has Norman survived such a hazardous occupation? Simply put, he knows bees.
Since I was 4 years old, I've been fascinated by insects, but honeybees captured my heart when I was a teenager. I found a wild hive and I got hooked on it.
As Norman grew, so did his interest in bees. Eventually, he earned his PhD in apiculture, the study of honeybees.
My serious studies have dealt with their behavior, especially the way they communicate.
Communication is the key to the doctor's success. Bees transmit information to one another using sense of smell and bee pheromone, a chemical secreted by the insects.
For example, the queen releases a pheromone to tell the other bees that she's there.
Norman has developed his own queen bee pheromone, and the substance has given him an extraordinary and commanding power over the insects. He can literally make bees do almost anything he wants them to. For example, with just a small drop of the substance, Norman coaxes this bee to leave its tiny cage and make a beeline directly to the end of his nose. A great trick, but that's just one bee. What Norman's about to attempt next will involve 60,000 of these stinging insects. If something goes wrong, Norman's very life will be in danger.
Almost everyone can survive a single sting. But if you get several hundred stings, then that's serious business and you can die from it.
As a safety precaution, Ripley's has an ambulance standing by. The paramedics know exactly what to expect if the swarm were suddenly to get out of control.
Someone will come down with swelling in the respiratory area. Their lungs and their throat will swell up and they'll basically suffocate.
For a bee, stinging is the ultimate sacrifice. Bees can only sting once. The act of plunging its barbed stinger into its victim literally pulls its body apart.
The bee tugs and flies away, pulling this stinger structure out of her body, which makes it start pumping venom into your skin. It does a real number on you.
Even the camera crew must take serious precautions, suiting up with protective netting, a measure that proves to be quite necessary. He begins by gathering together as many bees as possible, then dots his body with the bee pheromone.
scoop them very gently so we won't hurt anyone.
The bees, attracted to the scent, instinctively cling to Norman's clothing.
Already I can begin to feel the weight. Bees are quite heavy.
So far, the bees are behaving as expected, but Norman must stay calm and keep his movements controlled. Just one bee sting could send the wrong signal to the rest of the swarm and start a crazed chain reaction. Norman would suffer hundreds of stings in a matter of seconds.
Well, I should have tightened my neck area there inside my shirt.
Norman continues to place more and more bees on his body.
It's incredible. You can't hear anybody. All you hear is this loud buzzing in your ears.
Finally, this human beehive is completely immersed in bees, and still not a single sting.
When you have bees crawling all over your skin, they tickle quite a bit, and you can feel them gripping your flesh. They have little claws, and they're hanging on for dear life so they won't slide off. And then when you get 5 or 10 pounds of bees hanging on to more bees, clustering over other bees, it's really pulling. You can feel it.
As Norman shakes the bees from his body, his attention now shifts to an even more unsavory feat. This time, Norman uses a sponge soaked with an artificial nectar to attract the bees into his mouth. The bees quickly pick up on the scent and begin to enter. An endoscopic camera, typically used for medical procedures, reveals the unsettling and frenetic activity inside.
With this many bees in your mouth, they're all pushing and shoving. They're like little pigs trying to eat at the trough. They all want to get to the food at the same time. So you can feel them pushing and moving around. If I don't control my tongue movements, then I might push against a bee, and that could cause it to sting.
He tries to close his mouth, but with over 50 bees crammed inside, it's physically impossible. Getting the bees out is even more dangerous. Norman must fight the natural urge to gag, spitting the bees out without coughing. The slightest movement will rile them, causing what could easily be a fatal attack inside his esophagus. Amazingly, Norman wraps up his unbelievable demonstration without a single sting.
Did any stings?
Nope, no stingers. I suppose the bees think I'm their queen, and I don't mind them thinking that.
You want to be very careful around these honeymakers, because every year more people die from bee stings than shark attacks. Now, there are few things more sacred than a dying loved one's last wish. And Carl Whitaker loved his father so much that he followed his dad's shocking final request when others told him he was crazy. His dad's whispered wish: to be skinned.
Carl Whitaker and his dad Barry were best friends for the 30 years before Barry's death. So it was no surprise that when the time came, Carl vowed he would do anything to grant his dad's dying wish. But Carl had no idea just how bizarre that request would be, because it would mean removing and preserving a piece of his father's body forever. From fishing to carpentry, Carl and his dad were inseparable. Today, Carl sits at the bar the two built together and remembers.
Dad was a very outgoing sort of bloke. He'd do anything for anyone at any time, very spontaneous.
The two were riding partners, joining local motorcycle clubs where members take pride in their tattoos. And although Dad openly admired Carl's tattoos, he never had the desire to tattoo himself. Ironically, devastating news would change that. Doctors diagnosed the 58-year-old father with inoperable brain cancer. Given just 4 months to live, Barry decided there was something he needed to do. Without telling his son, he secretly began to have his skin inked with elaborate designs. One time we were out when he was up getting his radiation treatment, I noticed he took his shirt off and I looked at him and I said, "What the hell's going on here?" That's when I finally found out. I was quite surprised. They're only half done. In addition to radiation treatments, Barry endured session after painful tattoo session. Among his favorite images, this huge eagle symbolizing freedom, a Cheyenne Indian, and the family coat of arms. It took probably close to 3-4 months to complete all the tattoos. I was a bit worried they weren't good because he was getting very sick towards the end. Finally, after almost 4 months, Barry's tattoos were complete. He wore them like a badge of honor, but he wasn't finished yet. And this is where things start getting a little weird. The reason Barry was getting tattooed was so his son could skin his body when he died and hang the tattoos on the wall.
And I thought, if that's what he wants to do, and go ahead, sure. Then I thought, you crazy old bugger.
After the shock wore off, Carl began making his dad's dying wish come true. He went to the local funeral parlor, and even though they'd never been asked to skin a customer before, they agreed to help.
At the beginning we were surprised, yes, because it is a little different than what normal people would do, but who's to say what's normal?
Funeral director Tim Connolly helped guide Carl and Barry through the complicated procedure. To make it legal, Barry needed to include his tattoo wish in his will. When Carl's father died later that year, his son finally started the unusual process of salvaging his skin.
The skin was sent away to Brisbane as tattoos, and it was tanned, which means that it's preserved and was put in a frame. And it was really that simple. It's a little bit like, what would you say, like tanning an animal.
After the pieces of skin were removed, Barry was cremated, his ashes strewn in the ocean. Now, all 5 tattoos are on display in a shiny frame at the clubhouse where Barry and Carl shared so many good times. And though some would consider tattooed human skin a morbid memento, for Carl, they're a lasting reminder of his dad. A man who lived life to its fullest till the very end.
My dad would be very happy that it all worked out, and that he'd be able to be in our family forever and ever.
If peeling off the tattoo of a departed loved one sends chills down your spine, how about taking off your own tattoo while alive? Well, that's exactly what a guy named Bruce Katz did. He packed his arm in salt like a cured ham and then rubbed and rubbed and rubbed for several days until this tattoo peeled off. Skin and all.
Next, how one farmer's helping these animal oddities live quiet, peaceful lives. Plus, the students learning to swim fast so they can escape from this wild crocodile. And can you tell which models are in a bikini and which ones are in the buff? The world's most unbelievable fashion show, coming up on Ripley's. Ripley's Believe It or Not. Mark Davies, a swim coach from Darwin, Australia, believes that the best way for his girls' swim team to improve their lap times is to visualize themselves swimming faster. So meet Snappy, the crocodile, the ideal visual aid.
All right, put it in.
The alarming crocodile coaching method began as a way for Mark to get the most from his athletes.
A lot of good swimmers, fast swimmers, try to imagine they're being chased by a shark or something to make them go faster. In our case, we're going to use a crocodile.
Realizing there's nothing like the real thing, Mark visits a local reptile habitat to select the proper snapper.
You can expect to be able to have to swim very fast in order to get away from him. Crocodiles are some of the most efficient swimmers in the world. He might look very calm at the moment, but don't be deceived, this guy can move incredibly fast.
The crocodile's basic instinct is to wait near the water's edge and ambush its prey as it enters the water. In this case, the girls' swim team.
Dive in the water. Give you about a 3-second head start to make you faster.
At first, the girls had a hard time getting used to this one-of-a-kind coaching technique.
Absolutely terrifying. I heard this big splash. At first, you get a bit scared, you know, but to improve our times, I'm sure we'll do anything just to keep us going.
There were some understandably concerned parents as well.
Oh, she's fine. She has such a good time. She gets a little bit sort of wary of it, but certainly gets it to the other end pretty quickly.
But obviously, Snappy gets the job done. He's released into the swimming pool seconds after the girls begin their lap. The girls make a mad dash for the other side of the pool, closely followed by the crocodile. With adrenaline and fear fueling their muscles, the swimmers push themselves to the limit. They fly out of the pool screaming just before the croc can nip at their feet. Snappy's influence is working. The girls have smashed all their previous speed records, and so far, Snappy hasn't been able to catch up to any of the scampering swimmers. Believe it or not.
These turtles are Siamese twins. The odds of these turtles being born are 1 in 100,000, and the odds of them staying alive even greater. But these guys are 5 years old. Now, on most farms, abnormal critters are put down. It's easier and more economical than giving them the special attention that they need to survive. But Paul Springer, he does things a little bit differently. This man with a very big heart provides a happy home for misfit animals.
Paul Springer seems like your typical Wisconsin livestock farmer. On his farm, you'll find miniature donkeys and 150 or so normal head of cattle. But believe it or not, what makes this big-hearted farmer different is that his farm is also home to a bizarre collection of animal oddities. Domesticated animals with mutations faced almost certain death. And though the odds against an animal being born with such deformities are over 4 million to 1, Paul has given a home to dozens of them, lovingly raising animals that often not only have extra limbs, but extra heads.
I had two-headed calves, one with 2 separate necks, and one with just split into 2 separate mouths. He had 4 eyes and 2 ears.
Paul, who goes out of his way to care for these livestock mutations, first learned to appreciate the unique creatures when a deformed calf was born on his farm.
The first 6-legged steer I ever owned was called Boldegard, and I'd had him for a long time, and he was a pleasure to be around, and he really became a pet that you really became close to it.
The steer grew up to live a long, happy life on Paul's ranch. People often stopped by to admire him. When he passed on, Paul had Boldegard preserved and gave him to Ripley's to display, so that future generations could appreciate him. In the years since, Paul has actively searched the United States for other odd animals to rescue, animals who otherwise would never have even made it past infancy. In fact, many have ended up in museums after living full, healthy lives. Paul keeps a photo album with pictures of nearly all of them. There's a 5-horned ram, 2 donkeys with 1 head, 2-headed cows, and plenty of 5- and 6-legged steer.
Paul enjoys livestock, realizes that it's a curiosity and people like to see them, so he gives them whatever care is necessary, which may not be a lot of extra care, just plain good care, and make sure that he can keep them as long as possible.
That extra care mostly involves paying special attention to these curious creatures during their fragile first few months of life. After that, the rancher doesn't need to treat them much differently than other cattle.
I make sure I keep them in a pasture that's what I call clean. It doesn't have a lot of places, crotch in a tree where they can get rubbing and perhaps catch their extra leg and rip it off.
Their diet is something that surprises most visitors. A large portion of what Paul feeds his animals is candy. According to Paul, when it's mixed with hay, it's equivalent to protein blocks, but much tastier.
Cattle love it, eat a lot of it. And of course, they have full free choice of hay along with all this. When you bring it in to dump it, they just can't get enough of it for about a half an hour.
This farmer with a heart of gold says he'll continue his mission of raising and caring for these abnormal creatures as long as he keeps finding them. And while some might call them strange, he calls them special.
I guess the fascination is they're just unusual in their own manner, that they have an extra this or that. And I feel maybe if I didn't buy them and prolong their life somewhat, he wouldn't have been around as long as he had.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You might think that a veterinarian could just remove these extra legs. Now think again. In almost all cases, the limbs are directly connected to the animal's spinal cord, making a successful surgery almost impossible.
Next, this guy is 6'2", 220 pounds, but he swears he can fit every inch of his frame through this tennis racket.
I've had people tell me that they didn't think my arms were real.
And
come on down here.
What makes this kitty so amazing? It climbed a tree and hasn't come down in 3 years. It's all ahead on Ripley's. Whether they're playing with toys, playing with each other, or just hanging out people watching, cats are known for their curious nature. But Ripley's found one feline whose unusual habits set it a breed apart. Because believe it or not, this cat insists on living in a tree. And it hasn't come down once in over 3 years.
You hear me? Come on down here.
The strange scenario all started when barking dogs sent this cat clawing up the bark of this oak tree. Charles McLean, a resident of Carthage, Mississippi, named him Tree Cat after discovering the frightened feline clinging to the branches above.
I heard a little kitten hollering up in the tree, so we came out and investigated it. I tried to get it down, and it was frightened, and it went up high. Come on out of that pocket up there, and let's go eat.
Tree Cat, who's got plenty of altitude to go with his attitude, has Charles wrapped around his furry little paw. In fact, Charles gets up every day at 6:30 just to make breakfast for his feline friend. Then, climbs a 15-foot ladder to leave the food on a platform he built from scratch. Charles even designed a little dream house to shelter Tree Cat.
He's got a good view. He can watch the traffic. He knows he's going to get his meals on time. Now, some of these other cats around, they don't know when they're going to get their food.
Not even wicked weather is enough to drive Tree Cat down from the 60-foot oak. Still, Ripley's conducted a stakeout to be absolutely positive he wasn't sneaking out at night. To everyone's surprise, Tree Cat never budged. In fact, he even has a guest now, a little black kitten who recently climbed the ladder and made himself at home. So Charles built him a house too.
A couple of months ago, I noticed another jet black kitten up the tree with him, and they're getting along.
Feline expert Dr. Tracy McFarland believes Tree Cat must have experienced a significant trauma to drive him up a tree. She still can't believe it.
In 17 years, I have never heard of a cat going up a tree and staying there.
And although a skittish Tree Cat won't let Charles hold him, he has become friendlier over the years, even allowing himself to be petted at times. So is Tree Cat destined to live out his 9 lives in that big oak tree?
I guess when I get too old to climb the ladder to feed him, someone else will probably climb it and feed him. He's got it too good up there. He's got it better than any cats I know of.
The guy in this next story really knows how to handle a tennis racket. He creates quite a stir every time he hits the court, and he does it with no strings attached. You'll see what I mean.
Whenever Jeff Brennan grips a tennis racket in his hands, most people can't help but stop and stare. But it isn't Jeff's game that's amazing, it's what he's doing with his racket that's shocking. Believe it or not, this 6'2" man is about to cram every inch of his broad frame right through the center of this racket. Whether it's hanging out with his girlfriend or playing bass guitar, Jeff is a little more flexible than most.
For the most part, Jeff is pretty normal, but on occasion I've seen him put his arms back behind his head when he watches TV, and he does this weird thing with his legs, the ostrich walk.
I just started walking like that one day, and I thought it looked funny, and people got pretty freaked out, so I kept doing it.
Doctors say Jeff's flexibility is due to extra elasticity in the tendons and joints of his body. This human pretzel first realized he had a special talent when he was a kid.
I guess it would have all started back when I was probably in 2nd or 3rd grade. I would put my arms behind my head in class to kind of rest my head back. And people would start to point at me, my fellow classmates. They'd make faces and say, you know, what are you doing? You know, and I'd be like, what? You know.
But what looks uncomfortable and even painful to the rest of us is just Jeff's way of relaxing.
The only time I start to realize that I'm really doing it is when I start to cut off the circulation in my arms or my legs or whatever.
This real-life rubber man's contortions are so mind-boggling, he's been invited to perform on stage for the Jim Rose Circus. In fact, Jeff's bizarre flexibility never fails to get a reaction.
People get very freaked out. They have disbelief. I've had people tell me that they didn't think my arms were real.
Jeff limbers up. Then he's ready to start stuffing all 220 pounds of his body through a standard-sized tennis racket. It's a task with some inherent difficulties. After sliding his arms and skull through the webless frame, he begins the unsettling squeezing process. As expected, his shoulders immediately prove to be troublesome.
Obviously, my shoulders are wider than the tennis racket, so I have to make my top frame smaller enough to get through there. So yeah, I do have to kind of slide my shoulder out of place. Sometimes it pops.
I like to just watch the reaction on people's face to see what they do. They look surprised or grossed out maybe sometimes.
The racket gets jammed as he tries to get his second arm through. It takes a couple of minutes, but this contortionist manages to wedge himself out of a very tight bind.
After that, it's not so bad until I get it down to my waist, which there's some obvious parts that are very sensitive down there that I need to deal with.
After some very delicate maneuvering, this Florida carpet layer amazingly slithers all the way through the racket. And while many disbelievers are convinced Jeff's act is a big racket, Jeff swears it's all real.
I've had so many people tell me they think I've got a rubber tennis racket, or they just don't believe it. They think my arms aren't real, they think it's an illusion, but it's not, it's real.
And for Jeff, it's those very reactions that inspire him to continue putting on his Play-Doh-like antics.
The best compliment you can get is a falling ovation, which in other words means someone passes out and faints because they can't take what they're seeing.
Next, Megan Evans will risk choking and possible electrocution while trying to swallow this electric lightsaber.
If you can think of something that's the right shape, I could probably do it.
And this man's done almost everything possible upside down. Now, Mark Kenny will attempt his most physically challenging feat ever. Will he have the strength to walk all 110 stories of the World Trade Center on his hands? Find out in tonight's Ripley's Challenge. A group of medical students has gathered to observe a demonstration so challenging it pushes the boundary of human limits. A demonstration that's literally hard to swallow. Believe it or not, Megan Evans will risk choking to death and possible electrocution while attempting to swallow this electric saber. By far, the thickest and most dangerous object this unusual performance artist has ever inserted down her throat.
You can't breathe when you're swallowing because essentially your bronchial passages are blocked.
Megan acquired the skill for swallowing objects and pulling them back when she was a child. Starting with noodles, she's worked her way up to larger and more unusual objects.
Oh, I've dunked everything from Christmas trees, golf clubs, sewing shears, pink flamingos, all sorts of things. Just, you know, if you can think of something that's the right shape, I could probably do it.
But swallowing a 23-inch sword is much harder. Dr. Benedict Hallgrimsson explains the dangers to the class.
If you puncture the stomach, you would get the contents of the stomach spilling into the abdominal cavity. That's an extremely serious medical problem.
There is also the serious possibility the electrical sword could short-circuit, resulting in electrocution. Aware of the danger, Megan proceeds.
Bear with me if I have a little trouble.
Unable to take the sword's thickness inside her throat, Megan gags.
Don't try this at home, okay?
Shaken but unscathed, Megan makes one more attempt. Incredibly, Megan has managed to take in all 23 inches of the sword. Her illuminated throat is proof that the fiber optic saber is actually passing through her neck and into her esophagus.
I like to swallow swords because it's a mind over matter issue. It's something that a lot of people would claim was impossible, and so I feel a certain sense of pride. And with each new prop, there's new difficulties and challenges, so it never really gets boring.
When Jack LaLanne walked the stairs of the Washington Monument on his hands, the fitness guru made history. That was about 55 stories high. Now Ripley's has discovered a hand walker who wants to tackle the 110 flights of stairs in the World Trade Center. We told him to go for it.
In the world of sport, Mark Kenny's a man who has earned his reputation by hand, step by step. Because Mark's known as the world's greatest hand walker.
When I started developing the skill, I tried to look around to see if there was any records out there that I could break.
Today for Ripley's, Mark is in the Big Apple looking to hand walk right into history.
110, please.
Because, believe it or not, he's attempting a feat no one has ever come close to completing.
Oh my God.
Don't get too close to the edge.
Traveling all 110 floors of the World Trade Center using only his hands. Kenny never planned to make a mark in such an unusual way. A wrestler in high school, he began hand walking to build strength. The unorthodox training paid off because Mark won numerous titles through high school and college.
I was pretty successful at it, and I think a lot of it had to do with the hand walking.
His reputation as a hand walking phenomenon grew, and Mark learned it was a good way to get noticed.
I went to college and I continued to walk on my hands, and it was a great party trick. You go to a party and someone will say, hey, that guy can walk on his hands.
Hand walking became such an important part of his life that Mark eventually spent his wedding day upside down.
Well, my wife has seen it all before, so she wasn't too shocked. I danced on my hands, the first dance at our wedding.
At his home in Plymouth, Massachusetts, Mark still trains endlessly.
Get down.
With daily sessions up and down the stairs.
Well, when I practice, I usually wear gloves. What you really want to look at is focus on where your hands are and make sure you don't miss a step going downstairs.
Mark's unique ability has led him to hand walk some of the world's tallest structures.
Recently, I walked down the Citicorp building, which is 60 stories.
Now Mark's back in New York to meet his greatest hand walking challenge, the World Trade Center. Daily work placed to over 60,000 and twice as tall as any building he's walked before. That means twice as many steps, 2,223 to be exact. Mark's wife, Mary, accompanies him on all his hand walks, acting as a coach and cheerleader. Having finally made their way to the roof, Mark's moment of truth is at hand.
We ready? You ready?
3, 2, 1.
Mark flips his feet over his head and begins. With 110 flights of stairs to go, Mark definitely has his hands full.
Good job. And we're off the roof.
Practically running down the stairs, Mark makes it look easy.
That's all right.
But by the 81st floor, he's already drenched in sweat. At the 67th floor, fatigue begins to set in.
10 more? Yep. Go, 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 go.
It's more of your arms just give out, because your arms really aren't made for standing on that long of a period of time.
At 45 minutes, Mark is halfway home, but exhaustion forces him to rest. His hands, blistered and cracked, are taking an incredible beating. After a quick tape job, he's back up.
Get to it.
What's most important now is for Mark to keep moving. Otherwise, the pain from his torn-up hands might force him to quit. At the 21st floor, Mark must remain completely focused. A slip-up now would mean failure and a face full of cement. Only a few floors left, and Mark explodes with a burst of reserve energy.
All right. Act like we're in the 50s.
3 floors left.
All right, 30 seconds.
Determined and looking strong, Mark powers his way around the final corner. And he's done it.
In 1 hour and 26 minutes.
A group of building workers join in for a spontaneous victory celebration. Mark can now add the World Trade Center to his list of hand-walking achievements. And though he knows walking on his hands will never make him rich, he has earned his bragging rights.
But I guess I can say I'm the best.
You're the best.
Yeah. All right.
We'll be right back.
Next, this isn't just any fashion show. Some of these women really aren't wearing anything. Ripley's hits the runway for the ultimate optical illusion. Next.
Ripley's went to Puerto Rico after seeing the unbelievable swimwear that women are wearing there. It's sexy and skin tight. Just be careful in the water.
Looks like a typical summer fashion show. Beautiful models in the latest designer beachwear. But believe it or not, some of these women aren't wearing clothes at all. It's the latest provocation from cutting-edge artist Filippo Iocco.
I do want people to react, and I want people to use their imaginations.
Filippo began painting these incredible lifelike creations in 1996, after his more conventional paintings on canvas failed to get him noticed.
I was tired of having shows where people walk into a gallery and then they leave and they forget everything. And I didn't want to have that anymore. I wanted to have a show where people stayed and people remembered what they saw for at least 2 weeks.
Living and working in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Filippo's body painting began with nothing more than a brush, some paint, and a lot of imagination.
Close your eyes. As a fine artist, abstract for me is exciting. The way the colors move, and every time the model moves or every time you look at it, you see something different.
Filippo's creations eventually turned from abstract-style artwork to dead-on realism, and the work began pouring in.
I started getting a lot of calls to do painted fashion or bathing suits, so I did, and I like it a lot.
To create the ultimate deception, Filippo often glues string and other items directly to his models' bodies.
I like to add realistic things to make it look even more real, because that'll fool the eye more.
Filippo's goal is to match the real thing so closely that observers can't tell what's fabric and what's not. And while his creations are designed for maximum exposure, for Filippo, there's a fine line he tries not to cross.
I have to be careful because, you know, there is nudity involved. I don't want it to come across as pornographic art or like cheesy art. I want it to be known as artistic nudity. That's very, very important.
Not surprisingly, his faux fashion art shows have become wildly popular. Take a closer look. Can you tell which models are wearing swimsuits and which are wearing paint?
I'd say that half of them had me fooled. I kept thinking that these were mostly bathing suits.
The girl with the corset and the darling black hat, she had me completely fooled. Oh, it was very beautifully done.
And that's exactly the reaction this artist lives for. Because nothing pleases Filippo more than painting the wool over people's eyes.
I get a burst of energy. Like it's like a natural high. I love it.
Next, these tools weren't used by any handyman, but they were used on human beings. The blood-curdling truth behind these atrocious medical devices when we tear into the Ripley vault. Next.
The Civil War was an extremely bloody event. Over 600,000 American men died, most of them expiring not on the battlefield, but in military hospitals being treated for their wounds. If you wonder why, check out this cutting-edge medical technology from the 1860s. This is an amputation kit, provided to doctors who used it to remove limbs before gangrene could set in. It included a scalpel, large cutting pliers, a lance, a hacksaw for fingers, and a bone saw for those stubborn limbs. There's only a couple of things missing: anesthetic and sterilization. That's right, these devices were used to remove arms and legs without being sterilized and without any painkillers. Unbelievable? Believe it.